Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special Tuesday edition of Mythic Monday. Patch 10.0.5 brought us some interesting changes to the Mythic Plus meta, so in this video, we're going to take a look at how the healer meta has shaken up since that patch, what's going on with the dungeon difficulty, and of course, we'll take a look at next week's affixes, so let's get right into it. Beginning with the healer meta, for the first time in quite a while, we see some major changes. Blizzard made changes to Disc Priest and Resto Shaman aimed at helping them out in dungeon content, and the changes seem to have delivered as we see both specs move way up to the A tier for the first time this expansion. That's really exciting to see after weeks at the bottom for these specs. My initial reaction was that these changes would probably not be enough, but clearly they had an immediate impact. On the other hand, despite major changes to Mistweaver, it remains in last place. I haven't played Mistweaver since the beta, but it just kind of begs the question, what's it going to take to get this spec to be competitive in Mythic Plus? Mistweavers, sound off in the comments section with your ideas. Finally, the only healing class receiving nerfs this go around was Resto Druid, seeing nerfs to Verdancy and Adaptive Swarm aimed at reducing their effectiveness in Mythic Plus. Well, early signs here show that Resto Druid is still a dominant spec, remaining at the top of the S tier. I do feel like the changes to the class tree forced a lot of druids to run some pretty greedy builds though. Still, Evoker and Druid just have kits that are really good for the healing profiles needed to succeed in Dragonflight Season 1, namely Burst AoE for days. Still, it's really exciting to see some new specs working their way up, and will be interesting to see how high they can climb as more people play them and they get better with them. Personally, I'm already in the process of levering my Priest to try out these new Disc Priest builds. The dungeon difficulty list has had a little bit of movement following even more dungeon nerfs. COS and Shadow Moon are forever easies, but following lots of health nerfs and the neutering of my boy God King Scovald's roleplay, apparently HOV has become a much more timeable dungeon on Fortified Week. Health nerfs and RP shortenings are, I guess, the closest things we're going to get to timers being readjusted this season, but I guess it is better than nothing. In HOV's case, it seems to have worked since this was always a D and F tier dungeon in previous Fortified Weeks. The case where health nerfs did not do the trick remains Azurvault, coming in the F tier for seemingly the foreverth week in a row. I've been clamoring to get this timer to be increased for a long time now, or at the very least, respawn needs to be looked at because wiping in this place at the wrong spot is an insta-brick. It's really too bad because Azurvault would be a cool dungeon if it were a little bit more lenient. I found that the nerfs to Talish made the boss a lot more reasonable from a healer's perspective, as at least every Frostbomb isn't cooldown level damage going on over and over throughout the entire fight. Umbral Skull is still a terrible boss fight, but the HP nerf there makes it a tad more bearable. I don't really know what else to say here. The numbers speak for themselves every week. Add 2 or 3 minutes to the timer. They say the community doesn't want dungeons with long timers, but you can't make a square peg fit in a round hole. If the dungeon necessitates a certain amount of time to finish, then we should be allotted that time, not denied it because people don't like long timers. Finally, next week's affixes are tyrannical, spiteful, quaking, thundering. Healers, you get to take a rare week off of being the nearly sole target of an affix for a change, as Spiteful actually does impact everyone. The most important things with Spiteful are, of course, remembering it exists and not spacing out on ghosts walking up and smacking you, and using CCs and slows to negate their impact rather than waste valuable time, killing them whenever possible. Quaking is usually more of an annoyance than anything, but sometimes it can rear its ugly head at the worst possible moment, like stacking mechanics. It's always helpful to know when a quaking could potentially occur, so I'm linking a helpful weakaura in the description that shows when quakings could happen so you can react accordingly. Best of luck with the terrible mechanic overlaps with quaking, and maybe send me your hilarious full group wipes when a boss pulls your whole team together. Misery loves company. So finally, our random thought of the week is, does Mythic Plus need a bit of a rework? After my video about grading Mythic Plus for Dragonflight Season 1, you guys had a lot of really cool ideas in the comment section, but one thing that came up over and over again was the affixes. They're stale. Since we took a lot of them out, it feels like they're just on repeat, and you see one just a couple weeks after you got done with it. They're not fun, and they're just getting really old. I'd love to see Blizzard do something like what they do with the returning old dungeons and just take some of the old affixes out, come up with some new ones, and then rotate them through season by season instead of just repeating them over and over again. It just seems like there's not enough. It seems like they really target healers and tanks as the ones that have to be responsible for almost everything. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? Does Mythic Plus affixes need a complete rework or another look? Let me know in the comments section. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of Mythic Monday. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this evolving healer meta, the dungeon difficulty tier list. Do you agree with me? Do you think that some of the timers need to be extended? What do you think about affixes in the future? Do you think we should get some new ones, remove some old ones, maybe put them on a rotation? I'd love to hear from you guys. If you made it this far in the video, make sure you give it a like. Subscribe to see more of my content in the future, and I do stream here on YouTube Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Pacific. Lots of key healing fun going on there. Make sure you check it out. And until next time, guys, happy healing.